All right, Gigi,
Hi.
welcome back.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you again.
You too.
So our last talk, you had some interesting things to say about this lifestyle that you've been living. You've been doing this kind of work for how long?
Okay, well, I think the first time I ever, let's say,
Turned to date?
turned to date, I was probably, 18, 19? So, and then, I kind of pushed it back like that never happened. And then it kind of came about just from needing some money or being caught in something really quickly, or someone actually introducing themselves to me on that lines, I remember one man told me I pay like I weigh. And I was just like, okay, and
Pay like you weigh?
He said, I pay like I weigh. And he happened to be a very heavy man. So he was like, I pay like I weigh. And I just remember thinking like, oh God, and I'm in a crunch. So, but things like that, more or less being approached on that level. And then just like, again, shutting it out like it never happened.
Is this a lifestyle that you would recommend for anyone?
I believe that it's for women that are in a jam. I think it's if you're in a jam. I think that if you have a gift, or if you got other choices, or you know that your brain can get you further, or that you just need to maybe put somewhere, you should try to do that first. Then.
Mm-hmm. But if you have limited options, this becomes a viable way to support yourself quickly. You get fast money.
Yeah, but the fast money, but I think the mental wear and tear is not fast. It doesn't go away just that quickly, and the emotional stuff that you might put upon yourself, and the acceptance that, again, if you choose to do this, you chose to do this. So that's another part too. It's not so much that it's the other person's fault or the situation was upon someone else. You have to remember this is something you got yourself into willingly. So I think that like when you're 40 or 50 and processing it, it may wear at you just a little bit differently.
And recently I learned that your daughter is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your daughter following in mom's footsteps?
I feel like she's just going for a shortcut. Like she's not
going to school, getting a degree.
Yeah, she's just taking the easy way out because she saw the money, and that's it. So I kind of look at it like it's a cop-out because I think she has a brain. She could use it, or like I said, you can do eyelashes, something. But yeah, I think it's a cop-out. But I don't say anything either because, again, like I said, that's my feeling, but that's not my judgment. I do it, so I don't have a place to judge her. Mm-hmm.
And you've been doing it for quite a while?
Yeah. Like I sprinkled it on and off, but I really started getting into it like I got in a strip club, and then when Craigslist, that's how I got truly introduced to it. And then from Craigslist to Redbook, the arrows and all that stuff, when it was still where you could just upload pictures of yourself with your phone number, your real cell phone number practically, and just let her rip all day. And then that kind of, I was there when Craigslist got shut down and they stopped it. And I was like, my income, like it is for these other girls now, all that other stuff, I guess. I forget what's that camera thing that they're all doing, but yeah.
OnlyFans?
Yeah, OnlyFans, exactly. So that was my OnlyFans, and then they got shut down. And I had the club the whole time, so I was stripping the whole time, but doing this on the back end. And I actually met a Latin pimp who actually liked me, and he would see me and pay me for dates, actually, but he had girls. And he's the one that told me, like, I'll post your first ad for you. You should just try it. Like, you'll make more money than in here. And he literally did my ads for me, never took $1 from me, and just did my ads. And before it was over, I was just hooked to and I was very scared at first, but I did it. And then once I got the hang of it and learned how to filter the calls, knew what to listen for, knew how to talk to them on the phone, because, I learned to... This was a trick I always had, and this is for anybody. This is, if you're doing a negotiation over the phone, or even if you're iffy about the person in real life, you tell them, I need you to pay a bill. And you whip out, if you have a bill, almost all of us have bills, pull out a bill. No cop is going to pay a bill. They're not going to immediately say, and I even say it on the phone, like, I just need to pay my cable bill.
So you're trying to screen the trick to make sure it's not...
Yes, and they'll click and hang up because I'll say, no, I don't need any money. I just need you to help me out with my cable bill. and they'll just immediately hang up or, oh, I don't do that. Yeah, right. But anybody else that is a real date, they will say, oh, you just want your cable bill paid. I'm on my way, you know? That's how I learned to filter.
Oh, that's interesting.
You have to learn how to speak or that gray area
how'd you learn that?
where they cannot. Oh, I just taught myself. I knew like, okay. This is where I'm at with that. There's a gray. Everybody's mother, we all have moms, or your mom might even be married to your dad. Maybe your dad doesn't want to give her that $200 for the dress. So she might get a little fancier, do a little something extra, and then your dad's a little bit more likely to give her the $200 for the dress.
Do something fancy.
It has nothing to do with prostitution, but it has something to do with her doing something more to get him excited enough to where he gives her the money.
Put him in the mood.
And even single women. They may be with a man and say, like, I need you to help me with the bill. This is not prostitution. So that's what I learned. I said, okay, start saying that you need help with the bill. And this will edit those calls right out like they're hanging up in your face.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But what kind of things have you learned about the different races? Because I've heard so many girls say, I won't date this type of guy. I won't date, these guys are easy. These guys are to be worried about.
Okay, for me, as far as Arabs, I find are probably the most volatile for me. It is my personal experience. They're on the same thing as a black men, but there are two different reasons why. I think for an Arab, their culture teaches them already that I'm subhuman, or because I'm a lady, I'm different, or I need to obey. And then all of their religious things and stuff, I think, come into play. And the prostitution, I think that just the respect level is 0 to none when you're dating them, unless you build a rapport with them, they like you, something has happened here where now he's not looking at you like you are something that a rock should be thrown at it. Okay, and then with African-American men, I find it's just maturity level. I find within the African-American community, there's a lack of maturity in African-American men. I feel like it's repeating or Groundhog Day of the heyday. So if they were balling when they were 20, they cannot let go of it now that they're 40 and broke. They're still going to try to live as this 20-year-old man in the same clothes, same kind of outfit, looking for the same kind of car, same kind of woman, too. He refuses to accept that now he's 40, he's going to go for the same kind of girl he was going for when he was 20 and it was going good for him. There seems to be a lack of reality. And like I said, it's a maturity thing. But I find that it seems to exist very much, I think, in African-American men. I think the need to keep that time going, or the happiness, even if it is a farce. I think it's some kind of psychological thing that they have. I haven't really gone into that too deep, but from what I can see, it's just trying to relive something that's now over and it's a lack of accepting the future too. Maybe I think a lot in our community too, we have a thing about the future, but that's another dialogue, and that's me too. Future for a lot of African Americans is relative. And I think that that's where that comes into trying to live in the moment and not let go of this moment ever, I think is something that African Americans have, because for them, sometimes future is, they cannot see it. Or
Can you clarify that? That's interesting.
I think that, okay.
We can go on a tangent here.
Yeah, well, I can spur off in multiple ways to kind of get to it, but I'm going to go with them. I think that for African Americans, sometimes we are living our stereotype, or we're living what we're fed, that my future doesn't really exist, that my future will be a struggle. And to acknowledge that future is just struggle, why would I want to get out of the moment of the party? Why wouldn't I want to live in the party, my birthday party, or the time when it wasn't struggle for me? So I think for a lot of African Americans, it's like it's a protective mechanism, and it's also I don't know. It's just something to make you feel okay.
Is it because like long-term gratification seems to be something that a lot of African Americans don't grasp? Because they're not very hopeful for their futures?
Yeah, and I think the sense of even seeing yourself in the future maybe doesn't exist. I find it very strange that Asians and Latins can draw so well, but African Americans can't. There's something to that. The visual for us, the mental visual, I don't know if it's been beaten out of us or taken away, or that we don't believe what's in our heads anymore. That we don't believe that what's in our head, and not for all of us, but we don't believe that what's in our head can be translated into something that can be of profit or earned, or that it's substantial, or that it can exist in life. Like, there's a Tyler Perry for a reason, because he believed in himself. There's no other reason he exists besides the fact that he believed in himself. And I'm not a Tyler Perry fan. I do not like Tyler Perry movies whatsoever. There's only one I like, and that's the black woman one. All the rest of them, with Spike Lee, coonery, buffoonery. I don't like them. But again, this man exists, and he is a genius in his own way, because guess what? I'm more than sure he believed in himself, and he saw the future. There are a lot of African Americans that would never, like, there's no way. But I'm sure that man saw this in his head. So I think for us, the lack of visual, or even willing to accept the picture that's in our head and not being able to pin it down to a piece of paper, there's something going on there, not trusting yourself. And I remember reading a book about, I don't really remember, but it said something about not being able to trust yourself anymore. And you're in your worst position when you are no longer able to trust your own decisions. Like, even when you think it's a good decision, you still question, is this a good decision? Is this a good decision? That you're bottomed out when you no longer can even trust. And it also will, people can do this to you, from lying to you and manipulating you. You no longer accept it. Well, I wasn't right here, and I thought this was a good person, and it's not. And now I'm not accepting it. I don't trust my decision with this new person. Is this new person a good person? I can't judge it because the last time I thought they were. So it's that. And I think it's a mental thing. So I think for a lot of black people to leave the party or the heyday and accept that the future may be hard, or that it may be a future of uncertainty, or one that you can't see. Because you can see the party now, you can feel it, you're happy, everything's okay. But when you step out of that box, you're back into the reality that I'm black, I'm stepping outside. I actually read a book that even said that black people, it's shown that when blacks step outside their house, we release, what is that horrible chemical?
Cortisol?
Yeah. That just from us stepping outside our doors, we release it because somehow the stress of us stepping outside is so immense that we don't even know we're even doing it. So I think that, it's stepping outside of that and going back into reality. And I think that's what drug users are. And let's just say that they're in their own reality. That's the same thing. They refuse to step out of the drug use to step into the reality of life is hard. So I think it's a maturity thing. And like I said, anybody who's mature too, again, maturity will teach you that it doesn't matter if it's hard. I got to get up. I got to pick my britches up. Yeah, at some point I got to leave the club. Even if I'm drunk and can't drive my car home, at some point I need to accept it. I need to get out of here, and I got to go home. And I think for other people, it's just like, no, bro, I'm just going to sit here. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm cool. And I think that it's in you. I don't know. And I think it also can be taken from you too. You may have had it in you and then got taken away, but it's for every individual person. But I find that in certain cultures, it's more real. I have a belief about African Americans and success. A lot of people may not understand what it's like to be a successful African American, or understand maybe why, for some of us, we don't try, and we might psychologically not even understand it too as African Americans. To be successful is to put myself at risk. Even more risk than it is being a poor black person. Now I'm susceptible to being robbed, killed, followed home. And this is for certain. This is not like in another community. If I am a well-to-do African-American, other African-Americans are well aware of this. And they are looking at me and going, she's doing good. And the Eminem Soul Food man was followed home. I'll never forget. It actually still hurts me in my heart. They killed him in his driveway. This is a man who brought soul food to everybody like darn near, and it's the best soul food we could have in LA. They followed that old man home and killed him in his driveway. So I think people don't understand too for us. And you may say, oh, it's BS, but no. Why would we want to put ourselves in more harm? It's a psychological thing. But to accept success and to be successful, we then have to accept that I can be murdered because I actually succeeded. And it's not just by my own kind. It can be a misinterpretation of a neighbor. It can be an officer who's wondering why I'm over here. It can be a person thinking, why are you in this car? I am now stepping from one danger zone to another danger zone. And maybe the first danger zone I'm really already comfortable with, and I don't really want to jump into another one and figure this one out and navigate through this one and then with the rest of my life just because I want it to be successful. And I think that a lot of people don't comprehend that, and they'll say, bullshit, it's a cop-out. Well, if you don't live in Los Angeles, maybe you don't quite understand what it's like. And First 48 will show you, and I've seen a couple of them where it's the only successful man in town and poor man. You're a victim. You're putting yourself in harm's way sometimes by being successful. And I say, especially in our community, being African, you think Tyler Perry's just walking around with no bodyguard as P. Diddy? You think they're just walking around? You think that, no. Do you think that they just drive home and don't look behind their shoulder? No. I think that they're heightened reality compared to maybe Ashton, because maybe it's the same. But I would think in my mind that there may be a difference there, that the sense of me needing to protect myself now that I'm wealthy is going to be on protect, not even my wealth, protecting my person, like my life, so I can see the next day. I think that comes in too. So these are all factors that come in, I think, for ethnic people or in my community too, that kind of lead to lack of success or maturity or progress.
You got a lot going on in your head.
Huh?
You got a lot going on in your head.
Yeah, you got to figure it out. And again, because, sometimes people will say, oh, facts are prejudice, or you'll state a fact and somebody say, that's prejudice. A fact can't be prejudice. It happened. It's a fact. That's the reality of it. It's not prejudice. So being African-American, and sometimes when people have said things about African-Americans, you get hit with a little truth there and you're just like, okay, hold up. But you need to figure that out. Like, why is that? Why is that? And sometimes it is at a fault. And then sometimes it's a psychological, maybe it's a social problem, maybe it's something else. But when you see a problem and you know it's true, you shouldn't sit there and be insulted. You should maybe that's what I've done maybe with a lot of these things, especially try to maybe figure out why that is true. Why did it hurt my little feelings? And you'll come up with the things that I've come up and just said too. So that's where I was at with that. Because sometimes, there's truth in life, period, and it hurts.
A lot of people don't like looking at it.
Yeah. I think the gist of us, that's the world we're living in now, period. The truth is like, if you're walking in with the truth, it's like you're a party pooper.
You think we're getting better or worse?
I don't know, because all I know is what I see and what I'm fed. And I only live in California. In California, I would hope it's not the example. I know that people want to all be like us, so that's what scares me. So that if everybody falls in with this California shit, because the gangbanging is already international, which I find absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. Like, it should just stay in California. If you're a gang member and you're not from California, like, you're slow. So, like, I don't get that. So it's like, yeah, I see how whatever happens here is a spread. And I think TV, so would love to think that what I see is not real as far as the rest of the world. Because I think that, especially in other countries, this just doesn't exist. So I think as far as America is, yeah, it's getting worse. I think the rest of the world, though, as much as God bless countries that kind of stand on their own and don't become Americanized and stuff, because I find that, yeah, tradition is probably the only thing that's going to keep them from this hurtling avalanche thing, because the lack of tradition and all of this stuff gives people just the street and television to live, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the work you do, prostitution, this is something you think should be legalized?
Oh, yeah.
To change the topic?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if prostitution was legalized, it would be a different world we're living in. Women would be empowered to a different level. My belief is that there's, again, every man has a dream woman. And this dream woman, they probably would give everything to, throw their best suit in a puddle so that she could walk through it in her little fancy shoes. And the only reason why prostitution isn't legal, I believe, especially in America, is because of the fact that women would be equal, if not on top.
Women would have a lot more power.
Yeah. And if not, be given it. I mean, literally, women would be able to negotiate more with themselves. And not even that, I think that the men who own these companies and stuff might be able to be more open about what they like, and without feeling like, okay, there's a legal, I'll get in trouble for this. I think that the men that own these companies will be able to maybe help women out more than they do already, because they can't have an association via prostitution. Or it put them in positions where they could help them out, where maybe you don't need to be a prostitute. Let me see how you work as a secretary. And it wouldn't be a big deal to everybody, oh, you picked up a prostitute and made it a secretary. It's okay. I'm trying to help her out. It wouldn't be this, stigmatism on the prostitution part so far. And I think that women would be more empowered, and they would probably, I think, again, men would probably give women things, and they'd probably be on a different level and be able to barter on a different level. And it probably would even be a slightly kinder world, I think, too, if you let women have more position in it. And what I've found, for some people, prostitution or a form of prostitution can actually be therapy. And this may be crazy to say this, but I know that a lot of people that maybe I have seen more than once or something, we have a relationship, and it's not just about, it's an escape from what they have going on. So they're able to decompress and get back to life or back to their family, or just talk to someone that has nothing to do with what's going on with their everyday. So I think on both ends, people would be able to benefit. I think, especially women, I think the only reason why, too, it's illegal is because men know that women would be on top. Men will give women anything. They'll give them a Rolls Royce, and before you know, women will be acquiring wealth in abundance. And you can't have maybe necessarily just all these women running all these companies, and we are kind of emotional. So, yeah, it would be just a whole different world.
But as the divorce attorney, James Sexton, that I interviewed earlier, last summer, he's in New York, and he said that, I asked him if a woman's sexual attractiveness is the ultimate commodity in our society, and he said absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
More than money, more than power, more than anything.
Mm. Well, yeah, because I think with all those things, she gains all those things. The more attractive she is, she gains all those things. Those things are just she can just touch them. They're just there to be grabbed at, because someone's just going to hand it to her, offer it, or she'll be next to it. Even if someone's not offering it to her, men who like this type will be next to her. Therefore, she'll be able to be in the same presence as these people.
To access those
Yes,
things.
exactly.
But by making prostitution illegal, it blocks a lot of women from being able to access a lot of the things that
a lot of tiers where men are.
You can't
a
sell.
A lot of men-owned tiers,
You can't sell those commodities that are so valuable.
Yeah, and I think the only problem I think anybody could probably say is taxes. Like, you couldn't really tax it, but I think taxes are a problem anyway. So as far as that, I think if any kind of like legal, real reason would be taxes, because you don't know.
Do you think when a woman is married, that's still a form of prostitution?
I believe if you have a shitty husband, yes. If you have a shitty husband, yes, you probably do have to prostitute yourself to get what you need for your children via the husband. I'm not saying outside, but yeah, exactly. You need to get him to do something more, just like, he's just not with it. Yeah. So if you have maybe not the best husband, I think a lot of women marry, and if people don't want to accept that, it's prostitution. I mean, a lot of us have seen marriages, and yeah, you're like, what is this? They don't match. And yeah, so.
All I know is a lot of the girls I interview will tell me so many of their clients are married.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Probably most of them.
The gist of them, I don't know how many rings I used to look at the strip club. It was just endless. It just be like ring, 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 ring. Yeah, even with doing the dates, I would see the rings and stuff, or sometimes you see the little shadow. But, some husbands actually tell their wives, and I don't know. I mean, that's between them two, and I've gotten calls, and yeah, I don't know. I've had wives ask me, "Who are you?" And I don't feel it's my place. I tell them that they need to ask the person whose phone it is who I am. And I'll tell them that, like, I've had them bawling and crying, please, please, please. And I'll tell her, sweetie, you need to ask the man whose phone it is who I am. And I'll just leave it at that. And I don't want to be BS them either, because they're women. And if it was me on the other end, I wouldn't want to be BS'd, but I wouldn't want to be disrespected either. So I just do it in a way that I would want someone to at least give it to me without putting the person either out. So I just tell them, you need to talk to the person whose phone it is. Yeah, that's about it. Mm-hmm.
And your personality is so likable. You're so attractive. I assume you must have a lot of regulars.
I have mine that I've kept since I was like 25, which is kind of cool for me. I think that this has stuck with me since I've been pretty young. So I have, I had one pass as well. He passed quiet like in 2016, but I lived with him and everything. I was fine, well taken care of. He bailed me out of jail at least 2 times. He passed away. But I do have one, let's see, 2 that I see. One's goes on tour, so like they're never here because they're doing all the cameras and stuff, but they just send me money and stuff, and when they get into town, they see me. Then I have one that's known me since forever. I met him in a strip club. He's a Latin man, and I know his whole family. He knows mine. I got married. And he still would help my mother and my daughter out while I lived in Washington. I didn't even live here. I lived in Kirkland with my husband. And he still cared for me so much. My mother was able to call him, and he would help her out. And, I mean, he got her a whole U-Haul so she could move and everything. We still see each other. I know he loves me. I love him too, but not in that extent. When all that Trump stuff was happening, I was totally going to marry him if they would have come and try to give him any boo-boo about it. I was like, okay, bro, we'll get married because, like, I'm not going to let them roll you up. Like, you've been here way too long and it's not going to happen. So, like, there are sacrifices I'm willing to make, too, to make sure he's okay because he's made sure I was okay. Like, he's paid for whole Christmases maybe when I didn't have it or it didn't come out for me, didn't work out that year.
That's sweet that you have somebody who's that supportive.
Yeah, he loves me. I'm... And that's where kind of my own little regrets come in because I know he truly loves me. He'd marry me today if I would do it, but I'm just not. Yeah, that's not for me. I've had a hard time with marrying anybody because I've been proposed to quite a few times. And I have a hard time marrying for somebody for anything besides being in love. I got married one time. We got married. Actually, we met each other. We were married 30 days later. So we got married really quick. We met each other on Hollywood Boulevard. We were married 30 days later in Washington.
While you were working? While you were working the streets?
I was living in Hollywood, but yeah, I was escort then and everything because he eventually asked me to, like, you don't go to work. He's like, you don't work. And I was just like, no, I need to have a talk with you about why I don't go to work. So, and that's how he kind of found out. That usually how that comes about for most of my relationships, unless I think I've maybe had one or two relationships that I met them and they were paying at first and then it actually evolved into a relationship. But the majority of my real relationships, I have to eventually have this talk about that's not, like, I don't go to work like that or yeah, like I kind of just get help. And I need to explain it. So, but even my ex-husband, he wasn't with it. He was like, no, I want you to stop. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did stop and all this. I went through a whole period of stopping and all this and coming back. And
was it easy for you to go from being a hoe to a housewife?
No. I think he would say that too. What was hard? The lack of, I don't like being pressed for money. And then when I'm pressed for money, I feel like I have an alternative. Just let me go get it. And when you tell me I can't, and I have to kind of go through like struggle, that's where, and then if you can't provide, but you're stopping me from going so that we can be, that's where we had a problem at.
Because you were used to the regular stream of money.
Yeah, I'm used to having money. I don't need to budget. So, yeah.
So he wants you to stop working, but he doesn't support you in the same fashion.
Yes. And this allowance is not meeting it. And yeah, so this was a problem.
What was the allowance you needed at the time?
I think like all he was giving me was probably like $100 a week or something. So that was never gonna work.
That's not gonna cut it.
So I think like I don't even know what I would have thought as an allowance. Just something measly. Like my mind, $300 to get a person through the week. $250. Let's be even.
That's not enough. Nice. That's not enough anymore.
Yeah, but I think I got married in 2011, so it would have worked out. In Washington, there's not much to do anyway.
Yeah, but you were making more than that.
Yeah, but I mean, that'd have been an okay compromise. I'd have been able to work that out and keep myself busy in this slow, boring place. So yeah.
Wow.
When I was in Washington. Yeah, no, I think that was the biggest problem. It wasn't, I like being with somebody. I like being in a relationship, actually. Don't have a problem with coming home to the same person. Just for me, finance and struggle. I'm not, like, my maturity level there is lacking completely. I'm just not able to accept that I need to struggle at all when I know I have alternatives. Like, for me, that's where I'm a shitty wife as far as that's concerned.
Are you bad at handling money? Are you not good at handling money?
No, I think I'm pretty good at handling money, but I do have a spending thing. Like, when I get upset, I kind of
spend. Yeah,
I spend to make myself happy.
Shopping.
So, but I'm winning off that now because I know that I'm trying to be more minimalist about things. I don't need 100 if every color of this one thing. Like I used to be that way if I liked it. Like about every color. And yeah, I have about 200 pairs of shoes. So like I kind of obsessive about certain things, especially shoes. So I need to tell myself like you don't need more stuff. Especially now that I'm 40. Like what do I need more stuff for? Like I can use all of this I believe everything I have now is what I'll need for the rest of my life. Besides me just randomly buying clothes and I know I'm BSing, but there's nothing else I really need. Like I got maybe max 40 more years of life. I got enough shoes to make it through that. I think besides more winter boots or something, something that you use and wear and tear horrible. But there's nothing. So I kind of get my mind lately on not spending like that. But I've always been a flea market and rubbish and all kind of like from designer store to like a woman who has some stuff on the ground. I will shop anything.
Is it difficult aging in this profession?
Woo!
You're not 20 anymore.
Yeah. I think for me, the aging part is not it.
You're still beautiful though.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thank you. I think that the aging part, no, because I find that these young girls are very smart. So as far as that's concerned, and me getting the customer and keeping him is something, and they have to go out every day and catch a new one, no, I don't worry about that at all. Because I know that they don't really have personality. They all kind of are rude and shit. So as far as I'm concerned, like when I hit the block, I know I'm about to whoop these little girls' asses. Like I'm going to make a customer of this, and you'll be out here, and I'll probably have racked 800 off of one dude. And you're 20 and I'm 40, but you won't see me again. I'll be out here, catch one date, and I bet you more than likely you'll probably see me 2 times and you'll be out here all day. So one thing about aging I think is kind of funny is like just for me, and this isn't so much my age, but just me, the only thing I'm worried about is just me keeping up with these little girls and all this weight shit. And I think that's kind of this new relative that everything's surrounded around your butt cheeks. I think that's the only relative thing for me that's kind of throwing me off because I grew up with boobies and fake boobies, which I've acquired. So I was like, it's a different time. It's like, okay, it's now butt cheek time. But I think for men that like what they like, I'm doing great.
No, you're...
Yeah, and for people like butt cheeks, they're kicking ass. So there you go.
You got to remember, there's different types for different guys.
Yeah, exactly. And a man can like multiple things, too, because I've been told multiple times, you're the first girl I've ever dated like this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, or black, or whatever it may be. So infinitive amount of times I've been told I was the first, for whatever relative reason. So I was like, okay. So I kind of have a way of getting in there.
Yeah.
Despite whatever's going on.
How do you see the next 5-10 years of your life going?
I want to move to Texas. This is my dream. I want to go to Texas right now. I want to get out of California. My belief is it's turning in, everybody has to have a state where they can flourish. All peoples need to have a state. I believe this is a Latin state, a Latin and LGBT state. So I believe that this state is more geared and the laws are geared for them to live more, and it seems to be working out. So I'm kind of more interested in going to another state where, again, like everybody's got a state. So there's states there for everybody. I think in Texas would be kind of cool, and it's southern. So I just want to go to Texas and maybe open up a thrift store or something, or a Spanx store or something of the sort, because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to sell that's not myself, because I still got to sell something. So that's my thing right now. Some Spanx or...
Spanx are for women. Yeah,
the larger women to pull it all in, the Kim Kardashian thing. So so everybody can look like a 8. I'm thinking the Spanx is a big deal. And all those in waist trainers and all this stuff that they're doing all day so that they can, I'm thinking I just need to get a Spanx store or something of that sort. I'm serious. I think it'll work out.
Okay. All right, Gigi, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
Always interesting.
Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
You too, sir.
Okay.